It says I'm live and I'm about a minute early because you never know. Sometimes things glitch. If you're seeing a little wisp of smoke go by, that's because of some incense burning. Because, hey, we're doing meditation and that's part of the environment, right? So we're beginning in just a few moments, We'll take a couple of breaths, wait for some people to log on. Good morning. We're going to get started here in just a few moments. I'm actually waiting on a guest today. First time I've had a guest. I want to introduce him, but he's running late, I guess. We'll see what happens. So we're going to be going over meditation, and I called this topic Meditation Madness. What are you doing wrong? Because everyone that I speak with over many years, we all feel like we're doing something wrong because we're not getting what we hear about. We're not able to blank our mind and get no thoughts and get all peaceful and quiet. We have all these things going on. The monkey mind. That's literally what's referred to in the Vedas and in Sanskrit as the monkey mind. Because that's the human mind. We're the monkey mind. It's all over the place all the time. So we're going to talk about some different techniques. Again, kind of stalling a little bit because we're going to get going here in a minute. I'm a little bit early. And I hear a door opening. So one of the things we're going to meditate on today is being on time. We'll meditate on being on time for Ryan, my guest.
I brought gifts.
You have to bring gifts when you're late, and you left something behind. So this is my guest and first and only guest here for this live stream. This is Ryan Brown. He is the host of Above the Veil podcast. He invited me as a guest to his podcast about 2 weeks ago, and we hit it off and had a good time. And so I invited him as my guest today. How about meditation?
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. So he's just going to sit there and look handsome and be quiet and ask a few questions. And again, the chat is on. And if you can, even with your glass, you got a glass too for a young guy. So if you see a message come through, feel free, anybody that's tuning in, to ask questions. We have people from all different areas. It only shows a couple of viewers here on YouTube, but there's a couple channels that it goes on. So again, we're just giving it one more moment. We're going to get started right away. So let's just get started right away. Oh, my clicker's not on. Boom. Meditation. Ever wonder why you suck at it? So again, we feel like we're doing everything right. We follow the instructions. We've heard them all. We've seen them all. We've read them all. We've studied. We've practiced. And then when we do it, we're like, you know what? I'm not good at this. I'm trying to do everything that I'm told to do, but I'm just not getting any kind of results. And so we're going to discuss why that is today. First, let's begin at the beginning with why meditate. As you can see in this little image here, because we want balance. We want clarity, focus, concentration. So these are some of the main reasons to meditate is we want to hone and enhance our ability for clarity, focus, and concentration. I choose those words very carefully. Clarity is very important. We want clarity. Clarity is when we're certain of something. Not kind of, not sort of, but absolutely certain. I know that I'm not ready to make a decision on anything until I have clarity on it. If it's vacillating back and forth, then I'm not ready. And when I have, depending on the decision, a certain time period of stability, of clarity, of certainty, then I know it's time. So if it's buying a car, then it's going to be more than a couple days. But if it's just an easy decision like what's for dinner, well, then again, I'm going to let it settle and I'm going to find my clarity when you know that it stays the same instead of vacillating back and forth. And this is what meditation can do. It calms our monkey mind for clarity, focus, and concentration. And we want almost everyone, their prime motivation for meditation, what they get into it for is peace and stillness and calm. Good luck. So this is, you ask 100 people why they want to meditate, and they will tell you, I want peace, I want stillness, I want calm. They'll use those kind of words. I use stillness because I think that's appropriate for meditation. And this is where we think we're doing something wrong, because we all do these things that we're supposed to do, and I'm not getting these results. I mean, I'm reading all this stuff. Everybody's talking about how great it is, but I'm doing all that, and I'm not experiencing that. So what am I doing wrong? We're going to go over that because you are doing some things wrong. And ultimately, what we want is transcendence, illumination, enlightenment, and bliss. Bliss. Let's not settle for anything less. We want We don't want just clarity and focus and concentration. We can get that kind of on our own. It happens anyway from time to time. And it kind of comes and goes. It's peace and stillness and calm. We get that every night when you're asleep, hopefully. But transcendence, illumination, enlightenment, and bliss, these are the ultimate achievements, the pinnacle achievements of meditation. This is what we're truly aspiring for. So we're going over all these things. Now, here's the cool thing. If you try for transcendence, illumination, enlightenment, and bliss, well, then it comes with a side of peace and stillness and clarity anyway. It comes with it. So you don't have to focus on those other things. Focus on the big stuff, and all those other things will kind of fall into place. So ultimately, let's define that for a moment. Transcendence, illumination, enlightenment, and bliss. These are synonyms. Well, the bliss is a little bit different. Transcendence, to be able to transcend our material consciousness, our human mundane consciousness. Illumination, again, this is clarity times 10, times 1,000. Illumination is when we have full awareness. It's not something, again, that we can subscribe to contemporary regular vernacular. Enlightenment, again, this is a very overused term, and I like to refer to the Buddha because that's what we usually associate with enlightenment. And we're talking about an expansive state of consciousness, an omniscient consciousness, omnipresent consciousness, not just being clear and feeling good. It's a completely different state of consciousness that we cannot relate to. You're not bound by time and space any longer. And that results in bliss. Now, there's two different forms of this, and we're going to be going over this today. It's very important. Bliss, when you're in your body and you're living, and you have transcendence, illumination, and enlightenment, well, then you're experiencing bliss because you're not suffering anymore. But there's a difference between the absence of pain and pleasure. So I'm using pleasure as the synonym here for bliss. They're different because pleasure is okay, but bliss is phenomenal. I'm a different chart. But there's a difference between non-suffering and bliss. There's a difference between non-pain and pleasure. Non-pain is a neutral state, whereas pleasure is a pleasurable state. One is neutral, it is devoid of pain, and the other one is positive. So we first want to understand what our goals are when we're meditating, so we can meditate the right way with the right methods for the right end. That's very important. Most people don't know why they're meditating. Again, they have these very generic terms: peace, stillness, calm. And that's great. Those aren't too generic. Those are very specific. But we have to know what that means intimately to us personally. Not what those words mean, but what do those mean to us? And how we know what those words mean to us is when you focus on that word and concentrate on that word, close your eyes and meditate on that word like a mantra. What image comes up? How do you visualize? How do you see? What does peace and stillness and calm look like for you? Is it a placid, calm, still pond? Is it a bird in the sky? Is it beautiful? Is it cloud? Whatever it may be, this is a definition for you. So first get to know personally and intimately what your objective is when you're meditating. Then, only then, can we start to decide and determine a path or method for it. I don't call a plumber if I have an electrical problem. We got to get the right thing for the right problem. So there are basically two methods. There are various subdivisions, subtexts of these two methods. We're going to go over the two main ones because that's really all we need to know. We need to distill this down to something more simple. Passive and active. Passive meditation, just as it sounds, it is silence and stillness and nothingness. A passive meditation is what most people are trying to do, especially in the West. We're trying to achieve a state of silence and stillness and nothingness. Any questions so far?
I see none.
Okay, what about from you?
I'm wondering how I'm gonna experience bliss after this. I didn't realize that was going to be included.
Oh no, that's definitely that's the whole reason I'm doing. That's the whole reason I'm doing this. 100%. Yeah. I don't want you to get. Stillness and peace. And I'm like whatever. Like you're gonna get that here and there anyway. No, we want the good stuff. We want bliss. We don't just want happiness or pleasure. We want bliss, and we want permanent bliss. Anand. My name is Krishnanand because my guru gave me a very special name. Anand means it's not just happiness. It's just not just human bliss. It is absolute spiritual bliss. These are on magnitudes and capacities that we cannot really imagine. So, but first things first, before you get to bliss, we got to do some foreplay. So the passive meditation, that's not really good for foreplay passive, right? I got to get off this top. I got to go another direction. So silence, stillness, and nothingness is some of the descriptions of what a passive meditation is going to need and going to also facilitate. No thought, no attachments, and samadhi. So these are the qualities that passive meditation goals are for. We're trying to attain silence within our mind and our spirit, stillness within our mind and spirit, nothingness, no thought, no attachments, no desires, no distractions, no attachments, and samadhi. So when you attain a state of consciousness that is silence, stillness, nothingness, no thought, and no attachments, then you've attained samadhi. The Buddha, when he sat underneath that Bodhi tree for 49 days and 49 nights, he attained samadhi. Samadhi is the state of no mind. A complete overall state of no attachment, no desire. Now, let's pause there and realize what that really means. Think of all the frustration, all the anxiety, all the tensions, all the excitement, everything you have in your life that drives your spirit, good and bad, is because of desires, attachments, things we want. And the Buddha said there are only two results from desiring: anger, greed, or disappointment. Greed, we want more. That's automatic. No matter what we get, when we get it, we attain it, we're satisfied for a moment, but then, well, what else can I get? Or disappointment because we're not getting it at all. Those are the only two results from desiring. And the human condition is we are desire machines. So meditation is about settling, distilling, calming, and removing the attachments and desires. This is the primary goal for passive meditation. And this is why I dubbed this as, why do I suck at it? Why do we suck at it? Because this is not really our capacity. It's not how we're built. We're desire machines, one after the other. We don't even have to try. They just come on their own. We don't willfully desire anything. It just automatically happens. We see something, we want it. We perceive and we desire. That's the steps. Perceive and desire. So meditation can help us with this. We're going to go over the methods of passive. Now we're going to introduce the other one, active. And so the ingredients and what we want from that is we want imagination and vision and ambition. Now that sounds counterintuitive. Ambition for meditation, that sounds like attachments and desires. But ambition is not a four-letter word. Ambition, depending on what it is, I have spiritual ambitions. I am trying to attain a state of liveliness within my consciousness, within my spirit. That's my ambition. So again, it's how we define these terms, what they truly mean. I want to attain in an active meditation, imagination. I want to use imagination, vision, and ambition. So instead of the opposite of passive, in passive, we're trying to have no mind and no attachments and no visions. And in active, we're trying to do what we do naturally, which is see things and imagine things and desire things. So this, we're trying to ultimately expand that to fulfillment and manifestation. So this is something we seem we can get behind. So suddenly it shifts. We go from, I want to be all calm and peaceful. And as we think about it, we're like, that's hopeless. Like, I can't. We know we can't do it. And you're right, you can't. You're not doing it wrong. It's because you can't. You can't do it. You're not doing it wrong. It's because that type of meditation and that achievement is not proper for this age. We'll go into that another time. So fulfillment and manifestation is what we result and what we attain and we can achieve when we participate in active meditations. What does that mean, fulfillment, manifestation? Just what it says. Fulfillment. We want to fulfill ourselves. We want to feel fulfilled, not just pleasurable, happy, or peaceful, but fulfillment. And that comes with pleasure and happiness. Manifestation. I want to create and manifest what's in my heart and in my spirit. Whatever that is, whether you want money, a car, some material things, or you want some type of peaceful life and peaceful inside, then you have to manifest this. You have to distill this from your consciousness into your material world, into your body, into your life. So manifestation is the point of active meditation. And we all get behind this because it lines up with what we are. Desire machines. We want to fulfill our desires. And so passive meditation is about eliminating those. And by doing so, we would attain a state of calmness and peace by not having any desires. But we wouldn't really be human anymore, would we? We'd be asleep. You achieve it every night when you're dead asleep. But what comes more naturally to us is fulfillment and manifestation. We automatically want these things, and you can't stop wanting them. So instead of eliminating them, why not, with active meditation, go after them and go after them in a healthy, strong, and powerful way? So let's break that down. Passive meditations. We have some methods and some steps here. Let me see if there's any questions.
No.
No, I'm looking at you, man.
I'm wondering what I'm doing wrong. Definitely some few things wrong for sure.
Okay, so you're getting somewhere already. All right, good. Knowledge is power. That's always the motto here. Knowledge is power. And hopefully you can see the screen. It's always a little bit, but anyway, you can always replay it too. So what it says is passive. And what do we do to prepare? Excuse me. A little cloud in my eye. So to prepare for our meditation session, we need to do some pranayama, some asanas, and breathing. So before I meditate, in my meditation room that's dedicated to meditation, I'm going to go over that too. I will typically do some breathing exercises, some asanas, some stretching, and I said breath because I can repeat it, because pranayama is the breathing, the yoga method of breathing. Pranayama is the exercise of that. And so what I'm doing is I'm priming, like lubricating my consciousness and my body so I can sit in meditation, because otherwise, me especially, I have very stiff joints. I always have, ever since I was a child. I can't sit in cross-legged style at all. Never could. And so when I stretch and I breathe, then it helps me be able to settle in. And it helps me be able to sit without distraction, physical pain, physical irritations, some itches, something. And so we want to begin with some very basic pranayama, asanas, and breath. And it doesn't have to be complicated. You have to be an expert. So we look at a few, and I don't care if you're doing actual yoga or just reaching up, touching the sky and touching your toes and twisting back and forth, whatever it takes, just to limber up a little bit so that you can sit in stillness while you're meditating. That's the important thing. The eight branches, or the eightfold path. I always kind of overlap. 8 branches of yoga, ashtanga, and the eightfold path of the Buddha. They're the same things, which we talked about in another workshop. So the eightfold path and ashtanga yoga are really the same things. It's not about these steps will attain enlightenment. It's that these steps are required to get you to settle down enough where you can become enlightened. They're means to the end. They're not the end. So pranayama, asanas, and breathing, this is what this does. It helps us sit in meditation without being distracted by an itch on our foot, a stiff joint, whatever it may be. And how we sit, our postures. When I say asanas, that's postures in yoga. The postures are important too. Again, I never could, even as a child, sit in cross-legged style. I certainly can't do a full lotus. Oh my God. I mean, all I'm gonna be meditating on is how much freaking pain I'm in. I mean, I can't do it. And so sitting like I'm sitting, this is how I meditate. I'm 55. I have several injuries throughout my life, and I've earned every one of them. I can assure you of that. And so for me to sit on the floor or on a cushion, cross-legged, for me, all I'm thinking about is that's a distraction. I'm not going to be able to have a passive meditation of no mind. I'm going to be overwhelmed with how bad I am at this because I can't function in it. That's going to be on my mind. So sitting just like I'm sitting, I have this chair just like this in my meditation room. And I sit just like this. And whether I am doing my mudras and my breathing, whatever I may be doing, I sit what's comfortable for me. The important thing is whether you're sitting up in a chair or sitting cross-legged, the bottom line is if you're sitting up in a chair, do not cross your legs. Keep them flat. Keep your feet on the floor. Again, always palms up. And you can mudra any way you want. It's index to thumb, forefinger to thumb. Depending on what you want to achieve, there are different mudras for different objectives. So we'll stick with the basic one for now because we're not going into all those details today. So this one, it simulates a different set of nerves. And so does this one, so does this one. Me, I typically do this, never mind. So I don't want to get too advanced. So however you sit, the main thing is you want to be comfortable with your spine straight. And so you have good flow of your oxygen and your prana. Your prana is your breath. That's the life force. Like George Lucas is the force, like this is the real thing. So whatever position or posture that allows you to sit comfortably without distraction to be able to allow the flow. The most essential thing, the requirement is your spine must be straight. Don't lay down, not supine. Got to be sitting up. So we're not going to go into all the details about pranayama and breathing and all those. We've done that in other workshops. And you can get a lot of those things, but basically just some gentle breathing. Anything that kind of settles you down is just fine. Before you meditate, this is how you prepare for meditation. And then in a passive meditation, we want a focal point because we are, again, desire machines. Our monkey mind is always rambling and thinking about all kinds of things. So instead of letting it go wherever, as a monkey does, we want to give it something particular to focus on. We have a question?
Yes, glasses need zoom in feature has been beneficial. Do you feel as if it has been beneficial for each of you personally to have previous knowledge of the chakras in order to incorporate them into your daily meditation sessions?
Great and very advanced question. Thank you. It's hard for me to differentiate. I began meditating before I became an expert in Kundalini and chakras, which I am definitely a bona fide expert in those areas. I've studied them for years. And I use that. I mean, that's what my active meditation, we're going to be going into that specifically. So it helps. Or the more knowledge you have, the more assets you have. So absolutely, as we talk about the focal point, the flame, the yantra is the images. Mantras are sound and yantras are visual. So yantra for me is, you can't see it because it's just outside this room. I have a full length body height poster of the chakras lined up on the sushumna, on the spinal column. So for me, that's my visual focal point, is that I'm going to meditate on, within my mind's eye or in front of me, an actual image of a chakra, the one that I'm meditating on. So absolutely it helps, but it's not required. So again, the nice thing is, same with martial arts. So when you're taking a martial arts class, you're in the same class with the people that are very advanced and where you're at. Doesn't matter because you're all doing it at your level. Same with yoga. Every person can be in the same room. The people that are new, they're doing what they can do. They're doing the same moves, the best that they can do for now. And so as you add layers to your knowledge and your wisdom and your techniques, then you add these in. And for me, for sure, I don't mess around. I've been doing this a long time. I am absolutely straight up meditating on Kundalini and chakras. And it depends on what is my goal is that day. What is I'm trying to heal, ease, settle, or expand with so that I can use its benefits. Hopefully that answers your question. If so, give me a thumbs up or something so we know that. And if not, then say, no, you didn't. So the focal point is important. So the most common one is the candle flame. People just sit with a candle flame in front of it in a dark room and just focus on that. The point is and I like yantras, and I like the Sri yantra. The point of the focal point, what is it?
Is this referring to me? What do you think, other guy, in regards?
Me? I'm just a student. I'm soaking it in like we are here.
Thank you. So there you go. I think that's an honest answer. Is he certainly not seem to be contradicting? And now here's part of the dynamic what I wanted to have Ryan here is that he also is a bhakti yogi, which I'm going to get into a little bit in our active meditations, and we're in different levels. How long have you been on the bhakti path?
6 months.
6 months, and I've been on it for 16 or more years. And so again, I like the presence here is that you have something of a veteran, and I'm still somewhat new at it at 16 years, but I learn fast, I work hard. But here's a guy that is kind of new at it, and so I like the contrast. We can learn from all these things. Another comment there?
Is that a thumbs up? Okay.
We got an okay. Same as a thumbs up.
Thanks, man.
We'll take
All right, keep them coming. I appreciate that. So the focal point, the candle flame, the yantra, and again, personally, I like yantras. Sri yantra, I mean, you just get lost in that thing. I mean, it absolutely bends your mind. And so whether it's, and I've also done a lot of meditating with the candle flame and had some profound experience with the candle flame. The point is, we're doing with a meditation visual, like a yantra or candle flame, is we are focusing on one single thing. Instead of our mind flitting all around, we have one thing in front of us that allows us to direct and channel our concentration. So we become single-mindedness, not multi-mindedness, not manic-mindedness, or monkey mind, but we become single-mindedness. Now, we have not attained samadhi. We're not empty. We're not nothingness yet, but we have now settled it down, hopefully, to just one thing. The visual helps a lot. Very few people can practice passive meditations without having a focal point. I like the candle flame. It's simple and it moves, it dances, and I like the visuals of it. And so it's ever changing, yet it's still exactly the same. And there's some mystical properties for that. Same with the yantra. When you look at the Sri yantra, this thing is literally moving. You stare at it, you stare at any point of it, and it starts to expand and contract. That's why it is what it is. That's what it does or represents, the expansion and contraction of your consciousness and of the universe. And you're watching it happen. And so no matter where you focus on the Sri yantra, any point of it, it does the exact same thing. It's like an optical illusion and it just expands and contracts. So it allows us to settle our mind from what's for dinner, where's my coffee, the mechanic screwed me over, where's my phone, our monkey mind. Hopefully you saw the image that I put on this with the monkey on his cell phone.
Accurate.
It was pretty cute, right? And so the focal point allows us to distill. I'm going to use that word a lot. It's one of my favorites. To distill our consciousness, our focus, our awareness to one single thing. Now, don't get me wrong. When you start concentrating on that candle flame, you'll still be thinking about your coffee, your mechanic, whatever. All of the they'll come running in. Ping, 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 like a little ping pong ball, just bounce all over the place. But what you do is you simply, and I say simply like it's simple. It's not that simple. What you do is every time your mind brings in another thought, because it'll do it all on its own, you simply acknowledge it and continue to focus on the candle flame. Now, it doesn't matter if you're thinking about your coffee or how bad you suck at concentrating on that candle flame. You're still not doing it. If you're going to continue to not attach, no desires, no attachment. Don't attach to these thoughts. Have them, but let them go by. And the way I like to think of it is this. I like to think of random thoughts passing by like a cloud over the sun. Clouds just go by. Don't do anything about it. Don't just acknowledge it and let it keep on going on its course. So as the thoughts come and go, you continue to bring your focus to the one single central thing, the flame or the yantra. So this helps thought reduction. And that's what mantras are for. Mantras, as you probably all know, are the phrases and words that we can use that have power and meaning. Now, don't get me wrong. To be honest with you, you can use anything. You can say cookie jar. Doesn't matter what you use. The bottom line is, once again, like a flame or a yantra, you are simply trying to give your mind one single thing to focus on, and you're trying to involve your senses. Now you've got your eyes going with something visual, and your oral sensations going with something that's oral. And of course, various mantras have different powers, different powers and potencies. There are, of course, 7 chakras, and each chakra has its own seed sounder called bija. And of course, the primary one that's appearing in the 6th and the 7th one is Om. Now, that's not Om, it's Aum. The resonance is very important, because when we do this, when you're using a seed sound, these mantras are particularly powerful because they resonate on certain frequencies to our spirit. And the Shri meaning like royal and king, Shri meaning the master, the Shri yantra we talked about, the Shri mantra is Aum, the seed syllable. It is the primordial sound that begins the universe and dissolves it. And it's not Om, it is a full set. Aum. I mean, when you pronounce the entire thing, do it with me, man.
Okay.
Come on, big breath. Now open that mouth. Don't sound like a straw. Take a big breath. How's that feel? How's that feel?
It's relaxing.
You can feel it. You can feel vibration going throughout your body from beginning to end. The has a different vibration feeling than the middle of the O, and has a very different vibrational feeling to it. This is the point of the mantras, the bija seed sounds. And again, you can always use the aum. The other ones, they're particular. And so, yes, you should, as this person asked, you should want to know more about the chakras, the bijas, the seed sounds, what they mean, what they resonate with, because you don't want to use the wrong one for the wrong thing. You can literally do some bad things to yourself. So there is knowledge and power, and there's power in knowledge, and you got to be careful. So there's another comment or question there?
Like singing bowls, do those?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes, singing bowls are like Harmony of the Spheres in a very similar way. This is what, and I love those, and I'm just amazed by the people that can actually play those things. And I've seen some tremendous performances. And as a matter of fact, one of my last guests when I was up in Washington, he had a whole collection of singing bowls, and it was phenomenal. So yes, the singing bowls resonate with certain frequencies that resonate to your frequencies. Now, what you get out of it from one person's singing bowls is not what I'm getting out of necessarily. We have different chakras. We have different doshas, Ayurvedic body types and constitutions. We have different setups. And so again, somebody's singing bowl frequency may be just right for you and just maybe in bliss from it. But for me, I might be like, that maybe agitate me. That doesn't mean that I'm bad or it's bad. It means that it doesn't resonate with my frequencies. We want to find something that's going to equal out and balance out and calm our own frequencies. We're like that EKG monitor just going all over the place. And what we want with yantras, mantras, and singing bowls is to even it out, nice and peaceful and calm. Great comment and question again. So the mantras, until you know more about them, and I always caution this because the whole point of Project Spiritual of Spiritual Triangle and these streams and workshops is to straighten out the crooked paths. I try not to get on that diatribe too often about the totally wrong information that's out there. I had a student this morning texting me and saying that, oh, well, I tried, I'm going to be joining in, but I found something online last night and I tried it. Be careful. You don't know if you're starting out, you don't know yet what's helpful for you or what's not. Knowledge is required first. You need to first start to understand the basics before you start to apply things. Because again, if you're applying the wrong frequency of a mantra, for example, to the wrong thing, you're not only not getting any results that you want, but you could be causing reverse results, opposite things. I don't want to scare you, but sometimes it can, if you're really powerful, it can be scary. You can do some, we all have some power. So, thought elimination. This is the goal of passive meditation methods. So we've done our focal point. We're using thought reduction with a mantra, and we're thought elimination. We are simply trying to eradicate thoughts, desires, and attachments within our consciousness. Blank consciousness, no mind, not little, not some, not less, no mind. That's our ultimate aim. These tools, the pranayama, asanas, etc., the focal point, the flame yantra, and then the mantra helps achieve states of no mind. And then repeat ad infinitum.
Forever.
Now, yeah, pretty much again and again and again. And you will. See, so there's this wonderful Buddhist temple in LA where I was living. Big, huge facility, gorgeous temple. And I would go there to visit. And in the main temple hall that they have, there was always a couple of monks that lived there. And they were in these little meditation booths, setting up high up off the ground, these little alcoves. And this is so that guests can sit on the floor and meditate together with them. So they're radiating, and we're just kind of like benefiting from somebody that's more experienced than we are as they're generating, radiating this from themselves, being in the presence of it. So we can kind of sit nearby. And so I did that a few times. And I started having this conversation with one of the monks. And we're talking about our techniques and our methods. And of course, I'm like, what am I doing wrong, man? And I'm like describing to him what I'm doing, what I'm achieving. And I was saying, I'm doing all these things, and and I can experience 3-4 minutes of absolute vacancy and just this amazing, profound sense of no mind nothingness. And he was like, and I'm waiting for him to tell me what I'm doing wrong. He's like, you get 3-4 minutes? He's like, really? He goes, look, I've been doing this for 30 years, man. I don't get like 2 seconds. So that was reassuring, but also disappointing. I always thought he was going to give me some master clue. So the point that I'm making is that don't feel bad. If you're getting a few moments of no mind, you're doing tremendous. And I tell you, even though no mind isn't quite bliss, it sure feels like it, because even a moment of complete and total peace, of no attachments and no desire, even a moment of that, you'll never forget it. You'll never forget it. There are layers and layers and layers to our consciousness, and every layer has almost an infinite amount of desires and attachments. And if you have a moment when you're conscious, when you're awake, because you have them all the time when you're asleep, if you have even a moment of having no mind, of no attachments and no desires, it's indescribable. It feels like bliss because you're not bothered by anything. It feels like, I know this is going to sound so simple, but try to understand the depth of this. It feels like everything, absolutely everything, is just fine. Exactly the way it is right now. And this is a central thing that the Buddha had taught. He teaches us to attain objective reality, not subjective. That there is an objective reality that is immune to our thoughts, our attachments, our desires, our preferences, our perceptions. When we experience objective reality, then we have a full awareness that it is perfect, exactly the way it is right now. The magnitude of that cannot be overstated. To feel even a moment that everything is absolutely perfect, just the way it is right now. And repeat. Now, it can take a long, long time to be able to attain even smoothness with these methods, let alone even a few moments of no mind, or even a flash of samadhi. Practice makes perfect. You do it, you try it, and eventually you get better at it. Obviously, what I was able to attain for 2, 3, 4 minutes was not how I started out. I started out like anybody else, like I couldn't get 2 seconds. And I'm thinking I'm doing it all wrong. I kept going back, revisiting all the knowledge, thinking like, okay, what am I missing? And I'm like, wow, I'm doing this all exactly right. I just suck at it. So the passive meditation is quite simple. And that's why we're not going to spend a lot of time with it, because it's very simple, because we want to attain no mind. The less we put in, the better. Now, inevitably, eventually, the focal point, the thought reduction, and all these things that we're using as tools, those have to go. When the yogi, when the Buddhist, when they reach a state where all that's in their consciousness is that one thing, the flame and the mantra, and that's it. And they can keep that steady, where it's simply those 1 to 2 thoughts. Now, again, we have single-mindedness of the here and now. And the final stage is that has to go too. Good luck. Because I tell you, I get totally lost in that candle flame and in the yantra. Totally lost. Where that's the only thing in my consciousness. I don't even feel like it's in my consciousness. And here's the absolutely beautiful thing about it. I would stare at that candle flame and in that yantra. And as I settle into a deep state of meditation, the distance between me and the candle flame, it doesn't get smaller. It just seems to evaporate. And there does become a oneness. You don't really know anymore where you begin and end, and it begins and ends. You just become one with it. It's reality. It's absolute phenomena. And that is what samadhi and no mind is really about, is to attain complete oneness with whatever the focus it is of your concentration. But to attain samadhi, true samadhi, when you get to that level and you can sustain it for quite a while, then that one thing has to go too. And if you can do that, well, then you're a Buddha. Now I say a Buddha because we refer to him as the Buddha, but he is a Buddha. Buddha is a title, not a name. So you attain Buddhahood, enlightenment, omnipresence, omniscience. When you attain, and you can have no mind, where even that one final thing, you can willfully, which is contradictory, because if you're using your will, well, then you ain't no mind. And it is a complete contradiction. You want to get it distilled down to one single thing and then eliminate that too. That's jhana. Jhana is the Sanskrit name for absolute pure meditation.
There was a quick question before we wrap up. Passive would be, is there any specific mantras that you recommend?
Yes.
Aside from the Om. I like the Om though.
I like basic seed sounds. There are mantras that you can use that are for entire ambitions and phrases. I want to buy the new Toyota. Maybe it doesn't matter what it is. And again, it doesn't have to be Latin, it doesn't have to be Sanskrit. It can be whatever you want. Okay. There's this big myth, and as a ceremony magician, I mean, I like to use the Hebrew names, the Hebrew words in my ceremonial magic. However, I also pepper it in with things that have meaning to me, English, because that's the language I use. So it's very subjective. What matters is the thought that's behind it, not the word itself. Again, seed sounds work because they resonate with your subtle body, your energy body. It's not about what they mean, because if you know what they mean, if you just have some label, that doesn't mean anything. Again, anywhere can mean that. So there are many mantras that are long phrases. It is well considered amongst mystics, myself included, that, for example, the entire Torah, the Old Testament, 80% of it is one big mantra, Hebrew mantra, that if you speak it with the right breath and intonations, it will attain illumination. So again, what we're really doing is focusing and distilling the mind to one thing. Now, personally, if I'm using a big long mantra because it's particular to my goal, such as an achievement or an accomplishment or being peaceful, whatever it may be, that takes a concentration that for me personally takes me out of the elements, not into it. So whatever works for you. Some people like to rehearse and have something memorized. For me, that takes me out of it. But other people do better with it. There is no right or wrong in some of the details. Again, I like bija seed sounds because they resonate. I can feel them. I mean, they're so magical and so beautiful, and they are the primordial essences of the universe, of manifestation. So I like those. But yes, you can use anything you want in any language that you want. The important thing, again, to this individual is it's the feeling that's behind it, to allow your desire. But again, there's not a passive meditation so much when it becomes that. Now it becomes something that's active. Okay?
Thank you.
And last question, thoughts on binaural beats, tones to reach deeper states of meditation?
That's active meditation, and we're going to get into that big time because I'm going to give you a precise example of what I used to do with that. Yes. So let's begin with active meditation. Kundalini, mystical, cosmic, expansion, contraction. So exactly what you're asking for. I'm going to give you one that I used to do for many months, almost a couple of years. That was so powerful, it just blew my mind. And I designed it. So because as I was creating this little PowerPoint, this first slide for active meditation simply said active, and it gave you these descriptions that are coming next. And then this morning, or was it last night, I changed it to cosmic because I want to emphasize the benefit of being able to attain a cosmic state of mind and consciousness. Active meditations are not about attaining peace and clarity and calm and stillness. No, quite the opposite. active meditations are about enacting, activating, and experiencing a sublime and powerful state of consciousness. Me, I'm an extremist. I'm not attracted to peaceful and still and calm. I want intensity. I want pleasure. I want bliss. I want mental orgasm. I want all of it. Again, that's me personally. I am a fairly manic person. I'm very intense. I got a lot of energy, and it's a lot to take. I'm a little bit overwhelming, and I appreciate and I understand that. I accept that. It's not just a nature. That's by choice. I prefer to be this way. It's natural. That's how I'm at peace. I'm at peace by not being at peace.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of Zen for you.
Put it on a poster.
Yeah, with the monkey and the cell phone. So we have to, again, know what we want and what we are. So the active meditations work. Same thing begin with to prepare pranayama, asanas, and breath. Same thing. These are essential because, again, what we're really doing is, as the Buddha taught with his eightfold path, and Ashtanga Yoga teaches about its 8 branches, is we're trying to prime and lubricate our body and our mind and our lifestyle so that we can sit in meditation. Ashtanga Yoga, the 8 branches, the first 6 of those are simply preparation. Your diet, the way you live, do no harm, ahimsa, that encompasses to not have harmful thoughts, because it's not about to be a good person. The Buddha wasn't trying to be ethical and moral. He's telling you that when you do these things, there's layers of your mind that are fully aware that these are wrong things to do, and they agitate your mind. They don't allow you to experience peacefulness. So the pranayama, asanas, and breath are preparation. We want to do this almost all the time. When you're driving in the car, going to work, when you're commuting, when you're taking a walk, when you're sitting watching TV, do your pranayama. Do your asanas here and there. Make it natural, because practice makes perfect. The more we do it, the more natural it becomes, the more it fuses with who and what we are. So in active meditation, very important ingredients are environment, visualization, and it's ecstatic. Environment. Now, in the room across the hall there is my meditation room. My environment is, I have something of a Persian style rug on the floor. I have pictures around on the walls of yantras and of these sacred sites that are sacred to me personally in my tradition from India that I went to and took some of the pictures myself. Images, and again, the incense. I have an altar that has devotional meaning to me. I have even little chairs that are in my meditation room and shawls that are laying around, everything that's there. Every piece of the article in my meditation room is part of the environment, because I'm setting a pace and a tone. Everywhere I look, I'm absorbed in one particular goal and ambition. Now, in a similar way, wow, I'm getting kind of a rush off just remembering it. I've had several profound experiences in Catholic cathedrals. I'm not Catholic, I'm Eastern. But when I'm in a Catholic cathedral, and I was in a mosque once in London, I had the same thing. I'm not Muslim. But what I realized when I'm sitting in there, when I was in this cathedral, several times in Catholic cathedrals, every sense you have is completely directed and focused on one single thing. There's stained glass windows that portray the passions. There's incense. There's a hymn. There's some kind of audio. The environment, all 5 senses has something that bring you into that focal point. They get it. In the mosque that I was in London, same thing. Everywhere you look, represented why you were there, which was to purify your mind and your spirit, to align yourself with a spiritual consciousness, not your material one. And the few people that were in there, they're all doing the same thing. Don't get me wrong, we're all randomly thinking about our cell phone or whatever else, but ultimately we all have one ultimate thing in common. We are there for spiritual achievement. And that just breaks my heart and warms my heart to feel that I'm in a room with a collection of people that we're all sharing this bond, even though we're all thinking about different things, and some of us are not doing very well, and some of us are. But emotionally, I feel so connected that every piece of the environment around me, including the other consciousness that's near me, we all have this one shared thing, this one shared goal. So in my meditation room, visually, I have kirtan for audio. I have incense occasionally. I'm trying to immerse all 5 senses, 6 and 7 senses. I'm trying to immerse, total immersion into the environment. This is why my meditation room is a sacred space. My satsang, my samadhi, my sadhana hall, my sadhana room. I don't wear shoes in there. I don't usually wear them in my house anyway, but I keep it sacred. I don't invite everybody into that room. People that come by and will give a tour of my house, whatever it may be. If it's somebody that I'm connected with, I don't want to share it with, I will. But I like to keep that space pure and clean. In a similar way, as a vegetarian, I'm not militant about it, but I prefer when my guests come over that they don't bring animal food into my home. This isn't, I didn't buy this home brand new, so I'm sure it's had it before. But again, it's simply a gesture, a subconscious method of a way to keep our personal environment sacred and dedicated to one specific goal. On some layers of our mind, we're aware that we're making an effort in that, and that brings us our concentration. So with that visualization, the difference in an active meditation is we get to visualize. We're not trying to just focus on a candle flame, which, let's face it, a lot of us just get bored and be like, what else can I be thinking about? Our mind's going to ramble. And I'm going to walk you through, and very briefly, because this whole thing would take about 20 minutes, I'll walk you through an example of both. One, that's a very passive active meditation, and one was with this individual asked about what, profound one? Something powerful?
What's that?
They asked for something powerful and profound. What were the words they used?
I don't see those words.
Okay, well, yeah, something that was where we started getting the cosmic. So I'm going to walk you through real fast. We're not going to do a little meditation. I'm just going to summarize it for you. So, for example, an active meditation that's very powerful and very effective that I've worked with, that I've trained people with for over a dozen years. That's worked for every one of them. You prepare yourself and you sit comfortably, you can close your eyes, and then just allow your mind to think about visualizing, seeing yourself walking down a forest trail or a beach or whatever you may be, whatever environment that is conducive to your personality and your spirit. For me, a forest. So I'm going to use that as the example. I visualize in my imagination that I'm walking down this path. And as I walk down this path, I'm noticing all the details. Trees around me, the crunching of the dirt beneath my feet, the sky above, shrouded by trees, because I'm surrounded by trees. That's my particular style. The weather's perfect. It's not too cold, it's not too warm. I'm comfortable, and I'm just strolling along. Nothing on my mind. I'm at peace. I'm strolling along, and I'm visualizing and seeing this, seeing every leaf on the tree, being able to appreciate the beauty and the grandeur of this natural setting. And up ahead, I see a clearing coming up, and I'm intrigued and I'm curious. So I'm not no mind. I'm curious, but I'm curious and interested in something that's peaceful and beautiful. So I'm attaching my mind, but what I'm attaching my mind to is something that is conducive to meditation goal, which is peace and clarity. As I approach, walking along this trail surrounded by trees in this beautiful forest, as I approach this clearing, there's this beautiful meadow. And around the meadow, the forest extends around it. But the meadow itself is just this green, grassy meadow. And over ahead to the left is a pond. And the pond looks beautiful, and I want to go near it. I want to be with it. I want to go see it. See how active this is? Like, I'm not just sitting doing nothing. I am literally actively imagining things, which is fun. I walk to this pond. And again, I'm looking around as I go, looking at the tree lines around the edge of the meadow and looking up at the sky. Maybe there's a few clouds, so it's got some character and some visuals to it. As I approach this pond, I realize that the water is very turbulent. It's not calm and still, but there's a lot of current in this pond, in this lake. It's very agitated, like my mind is. And so I decide to sit by this beautiful pond in this meadow, to sit as comfortably as I can. And I sit by this pond, I close my eyes, and I'm just breathing. And within a few moments, I open my eyes and I look at the pond, and the pond is slightly calmer than it was before. And I think that's interesting. And I close my eyes again, go back into my little meditation, just breathing and being at peace, being so grateful to be in this environment, how lucky I am. And in a few moments, I open my eyes again, and the pond is even calmer. And I realize it's almost like the pond is telling me, you're making me calm, and I'm making you calm. We have this reciprocating energy symmetry between us. And that makes me happy. Not peace and calm, but it makes me happy and peaceful and sweet that I have this rapport, this relationship that's establishing with this natural element. And when I open my eyes next, the pond is almost completely still. And I can feel its gratitude for my presence as I am immersed in the gratitude of being in its presence. And there's this reciprocating gratitude that we have with each other. And I close my eyes again, and I just smile. And I think how wonderful and beautiful and miraculous this is. Within a few moments, as any human being, I got things I got to do, so I got to leave. So in my mind, I say to the pond, I got to go. But it was nice visiting you. And I hope to be back soon. And it says the same to me. Thanks for coming. Hope you come again soon. I enjoyed your visit. And as I stand to leave, I take in the scenery again. I look up at the sky and I see the clouds and I see the tree line. And as I walk back across the meadow, I walk back to the trail, and my feet at the trail, and I can feel the ground crunching beneath my feet and the trees all around me. And I am just so grateful to have had this moment and this experience. And then I enter back into my regular space. This meditation can be done in 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever you want. Add anything you want. You want to add some deer and some lions and tigers and bears, you do that too. You can do anything you want because it's your imagination. Whatever brings you clarity and peace and something that gives you something to focus on. This is your yantra, is this environment, this scene. That isn't just some symbol, but something that resonates with you. And again, it can be a beach. I like walking on the beach too. However, when I try to just meditate walking on the beach, I'm like, when I'm walking on a beach, oh, my mind can ramble. It'd be like thinking about all my stressful things, all the responsibilities that I have. And so but if I'm walking on the beach and I'm watching the waves, which are so magical and have action, and I love that. And then if I see some dolphins going by, which I've seen, then suddenly I'm not thinking about my worries and stresses. No, I'm so absorbed in what I'm so concentrated on just that one thing that I'm seeing that everything else falls away. So active meditation, the advantage is you're giving yourself something particular to focus on, something that is positive and beautiful and clear and peaceful. Instead of thinking about peace, you're thinking about something that is peaceful, an experience of what it feels like. This, your mind will automatically gravitate to because it is a desire machine. What is it desiring? Peace, but not some abstract sense, some abstract notion of it. It wants something that it can identify with. So I'll give you one more example of the more profound, intense type of stuff. I did this for a long, long time. Now, take it a little bit back into the 90s. I wasn't doing it in the 90s. Well, it was probably the late 90s. That was. It actually was. And Tool had come out with Lateralis. Lateralis itself is a song with parabola that is to the Fibonacci sequence. It is intense, and I knew right away it was an absolute Kundalini venture. These guys are mystical magicians, and what they did was compose a song that was designed with its rhythms like a mantra to resonate and cause a shift in your subtle body. So I would get my stereo. My stereo has speakers almost as tall as I am. They're about 4.5 feet tall, and they're huge. And I had this, still have very loud blaring stereo, and I would clear my space, and I would sit against the wall. And I would crank Tua lateralis and parabola so friggin' loud, my neighbors 5 houses away could hear it easily. And I was completely 100% immersed in the sound. And I would meditate on the words that are in that song that sing about transcendence and realize that you are a body of light, you are a body of energy, that you are conscious, that you can attain and transcend your regular consciousness. That's what it's about. And it's composed to resonate like yantras and mantras to be able to activate this within you. And I would have some intense conscious shifts in those meditations. It was like a drug. It made me so high. And yet peaceful and calm simultaneously. A paradox, which personally, I love that. Many people would not want that meditation whatsoever. It'd be way too crazy for them. And me, I couldn't wait. And there would be times when I would fast for 3-4 days. And I would meditate this way 3-4 times a day. I'd be fasting and meditating 3-4 times a day with this. And within a couple days, I was in a completely altered state. And now I'm not saying altered in such a bad way. I'm saying I had to be very careful when I did this, because once I was in this state of you could say super consciousness, not super, but super consciousness, I found it harder and harder to relate to the regular material world. Now, for me personally, that was great because I'm in this transcendent state. But again, if I had to go to work or do something, then it can be challenging. So I chose those times very specifically. I had to make sure my schedule was clear, but I had the time to be able to fast for a couple days, 3-4 days. And by the second, third day, when you fast and you do these kind of things, is when it just starts to click. You're fasting, you're no longer hungry, it just kind of clicks over. You shift gears. And that is when the magic happens. Again, this is a very advanced set of techniques. I don't recommend this for everybody. And this is not, ultimately, this is about attaining a more cosmic state of consciousness, not a spiritual one. They're different. So I described for you the preparation, the environment, the visualization, and ecstatic state of consciousness, cosmic one. Now we're also going to discuss, is there any more questions, comments?
Just comments.
Saying you're crazy, man.
No, we got to thank you. A cool really helps.
Nice.
Great album, 432.
Right, 432.
Temple of Sacred Mirrors.
Yeah, I'll tell you, when I saw, and real quick, I can't help it. So when I saw them live on the Lateralis tour, okay, I'll tell you, they did Parabola and Lateralis, and they performed a ceremony on stage. To everybody else that's not trained in it, they're just a rock band playing a song. But what Maynard was doing in the background was so bizarre and so eerie and so friggin' cool. And what they were doing on stage, and I knew because I'm trained mystic and I'm part of the OTO, which I know they are as well. I know Adam Jones is. What they're doing is creating a ceremonial magic ceremony on stage. And it was mind-blowing. And the moment it ended, I was with my sister at the Forum in LA. And I turned to her and I said, okay, let's go. And she goes, what do you mean, let's go? There's going to be an encore. I said, no, there's not. No, there's not. You don't follow something like that. Trust me, they're done. They were done. You don't follow something like that. And it wasn't just follow. They created a spell. They changed the entire atmosphere and environment. And that resonated. And so these things can be very powerful and potent when used the right way. But again, got to use them for the right thing too. Now we're going to talk about an active style of meditation for more spiritual contents and context. Same preparation. Pranayama, asanas, breath, always essential. It doesn't matter if I'm playing tennis and I want to stretch and limber up a little bit, we're going to go meditate. The bottom line is we need some physical preparation because we are spirits trapped in physical bodies. So we need to make those things more lubricated and easier to be able to be settled. In a similar way, our environment and our visualization. When I'm doing my spiritual meditations, which is all I do now, which is a different goal, same thing, my meditation room, my rug on the floor, my incense, which I have sometimes I don't because I'm meditating 2-3 times a day. it'd be expensive after a while. And it's also distracting. Like I got to get it out and light it, and it's more hassle. So the environment again is very important. You want to immerse yourself and surround yourself in an environment that is of the same theme of what you're trying to achieve. There's several reasons why baseball players and sport figures will wear uniforms when they're going to play. Well, not only is it appropriate for what they're doing, but it's also so we can recognize them. And when I'm in the office, I would wear slacks and a shirt. And when I'm at home, I'm like Mr. Rogers, then I'm kicking it in some my socks and some comfortable clothes. We want the appropriate environment inside and outside to immerse ourselves in. The visualization, part of that is your environment. You're immersing yourself and surrounding yourself with visuals. Now, in an act of meditation, visualization becomes part of your method. As I gave you in the walking through the path in the pond, I'm seeing things. If I try to blank my mind, it's going to go crazy. It's going to think about all kinds of stuff. Who knows what? It's a monkey mind. I can't control it. It's going to be thinking about bananas and bottles. If I give it something to think about, like that pond, like that song, something particular that I'm focusing on, then it's not monkey mind anymore. I've given it, your mind wants to think. That's its nature. If it's awake and conscious, it's going to think. That's what it does. Don't prevent it. Just give it something to think about, something that you choose instead of what it chooses. This is going to choose some crazy stuff. Give it what you choose. This is what visualization is about. So in my spiritual meditations, my visualization is going to be about God and Guru. For me, in my path, a bhakti path, bhakti yoga is the path of surrender, of will and mind to a spiritual, divine state, of a divine will. Forget my will. Mine's just a stupid human will. I want to align myself with a divine will that's beyond me. I'm a stupid human. God is omnipresent, omniscient. That's a far better will than I got. So the bhakti path is about surrender and devotion. So what I'm visualizing, what I'm imagining is the form, the appearance, what they call the leelas, the gunas, the qualities, and the form of my personal form of God. Whether that's your totem of an animal, or Shiva, Shakti, Vishnu, Jesus, the Buddha. When you are associating through visualization a divine form that represents pure spirituality for you, then that's the visualization. That's Jhana. Concentration, Kirtan, Rup, Dhyan, and remembrance. Repeat. So Jhana is concentration. So what I'm doing is I may be visualizing, imagining my personal form of God, Radha Krishna, back 5,000 years ago when they were here on this earth, doing their thing, doing fun, crazy, just things. And it doesn't matter what it is they do, whatever you imagine with your personal form of God, whether it's Shiva on the mountaintop, on the holy mountain, Kailash, sitting in samadhi, in lotus, with his third eye, no matter what it is, you're associating and you're relating to something that is beyond you, but it gives you something to focus on, again, like yantras and mantras. The bhakti path, for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, the bhakti saints and yogis have taught us the most simplest, easiest method and process of doing active meditation with kirtan, rup, dhyan, and remembrance. Kirtan is real simple. We've all heard it. The call and response of the sacred names and spiritual names of God, or pad kirtan, which I like, which tell about the actions that a saint may have, a form of God, what they do in their divine abode or here on earth when they are avatars. For me, I like pad kirtan because my mind is a monkey mind. When I'm doing nam sankirtan, when I'm just repeating the name of God, And then my mind starts wondering. I'm like, do I got gas in the car? Did I pick up some beer? I'm gonna have a beer tonight by the fire. Did I have anything at home? Do I need to stop at the store? Did Ryan bring bagels and cream cheese like he said he was gonna bring this morning? He didn't. So now what I'm thinking is, son of a bitch, I didn't get any breakfast. I figured why the reason he was late because he was bringing me bagels and cream cheese because that's what I.
They didn't have
The only reason I really invited him was I said, hey, bring some bagels and cream cheese.
I brought some alternatives.
So boy, I'm meditating on something now. So again, Pud Kirtan. I don't know what the word Pud means in Sanskrit, but it relates to, again, Nam Sankirtan. Nam is name, is like Haridam, Haridam, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Beautiful, wonderful Kirtan chants. But again, me personally, my mind is way too active and I end up like thinking about other stuff. My mind wanders. But Pud Sankirtan, where they tell stories. I mean, I just get emotional even saying it. They tell stories because and I get emotional, not just because they're beautiful, but because I got something I can concentrate on. They have lyrics, they have a story to their words. And so it gives me something to focus on. And I'm good at it. I'm not good at Nam Sankirtan. And so that's what Rup Dhyan and remembrance is about. Rup Dhyan is to visualize and imagine the form of God. Like again, Shiva is blue skin. His skin is like the color of ash. He has the third eye. He has a very majestic form. It could be any form that you want. Again, the Buddha. Now, personally, I don't like the big round, happy, smiley Buddha from Japan and China. I like the emaciated Buddha that when he was doing his austerities, where he's completely withered away. I like that Buddha. I don't know why. And so, whatever form works for you. And remembrance is to remember their actions, their acts upon earth. And I think Jesus is wonderful at this. Yeshua, I don't like the Jesus name because it's made up. Yeshua, his real name. We think. I love the Sermon on the Mount of Olives. I like to imagine walking along and coming across this guru, master, sage, saint, holy, divine person, looking and acting like a human being who's clearly not one, giving you the Beatitudes, preaching a sermon on the Mount of Olives, giving such beautiful, perfect advice and serene knowledge and wisdom in such love that just takes me away. And for that time, that's remembrance. I am completely absorbed in a spiritual mindset because I'm dwelling on and focusing on a spiritual personality that's doing things, not just an abstract concept, because again, my mind will wander. It wanders all the time. And of course, repeat again and again and again. Now, when I first started doing Rup Dhyan, remembrance, and Kirtan, I mean, I was like anybody. I'm like, I get it, but I'm not really like, I don't know if I'm doing it right. Now, it depends on the day. There's days when within moments, I'm like in tears, like literally overwhelmed and in tears. Can't contain the rapture. And the ecstasy that I'm experiencing is not just bliss. There's two angles of that. Longing and bliss. Part of it is that I am so overwhelmed by the gratitude that I have for the divine to be present in my life and in my heart and me be aware of it. Another part of it is complete sorrow and anguish because I'm not one with it. The Buddha said, the best and worst day of someone's life is when they realize enlightenment is a real thing. The best, because now they know why they're here. The worst, because they will never be at peace until they attain it. So my ecstasy is a dualistic opposition paradox. I am enjoying the gratitude of the awareness of the divine and also in anguish over my separation of not being completely joined with it. Any questions? Any comments?
No comments, no questions.
What about as our more 4 to 6 month newbie, we could say, in our Bhakti Yoga path? What's your experience with it? Again, we're talking about Kirtan and the remembrance. You know the instructions, and he may be very short on the path, but those of us who are on this path that become associated with him and get to know him a little bit, we feel he's advancing pretty quickly.
No, I'd say it's very relatable to actually the passive meditation you spoke of, where it can take a long time just to have a moment of complete non-mindedness where you can practice for days, months. And with this, it's an immersion, so you get quicker. The environment is what helps the most, to not have to go through this for years or months to feel some type of feeling of what you're speaking about. But it can be foreign at first. So that's why I think the knowledge is really important. Having this just to categorize everything, what's what. I mean, there's just so much knowledge with meditation, just to know what's falling into what and what's going to lead me to what. That foundation allows you to keep going. And once you have that trust, that's when you start to get some of those basis points of experience.
Good point. The knowledge for Bhakti Yoga is, it's an emotional meditation. It's emotional, but for sure the knowledge, when you are not only taught how to do it, but why, that's when, and again, I think if I hear you right, what you're saying is that as many of us, we experience years and years of frustration, like, I don't think I'm doing this right. But with Bhakti meditation, with Kirtan, etc., even if you're not making instant progress, you're making small amounts observably almost right away. And you're like, and you can sense intuitively, this makes sense. And so that gives us some efficacy and it helps it work. But for sure, I think the knowledge of that is, especially in the beginning stages, we need to know why and what and how it works, because this is part of the gratitude that we have. We connect to that. And so, and again, you just mentioned the key elements, the environment. As we sit in the sadhana hall, which is this beautiful, regal, huge room that we have an altar, but no matter where you look in this room, it's a huge hall. No matter where you look, you're absorbed in what you're there for. It's hard to look away from it. You got to really try harder for your mind to wander. And when it does, you feel a little guilty. It's like, look where I'm at. And what am I thinking about? I'm thinking about my breakfast. It kind of brings you back. Instead of always bouncing away, it kind of bounces you back. So, the irony, if I can put it that way, is that what you just described is right aligned with what almost all of us were talking about when we were kind of newer on the path, is that we understand that it takes a while, but again, something's drawing you in. And again, we're talking about an active meditation, something you can participate in, which comes more naturally to us, right?
Yeah, I'd agree. I know, just tidbit of my own experiences. I know a comment was made on transcendental meditation, and before coming onto the path of Bhakti Yoga, I was doing Vipassana meditations, and it'd be wild to see people. I thought Vipassana would have been my life, going to retreat after retreat. I've met people that had been doing that for 30 years, trying to make progress. And then with TM as well, I know a lot of folks I've heard will do that for 20, 30 years and then change paths. And I'm 27, so I'm fairly grateful to have not done through trial and error, where it can take decades to then finally realize that there's
Graduate.
You kind of graduate. You're like, all right, I've reached my limit, or it's so incremental. We're desirous machines that you have to have extreme discipline to even get that far. So that's why I think the knowledge is what's important, to try to conceptualize and hopefully prevent 30 years of going down, I wouldn't say the wrong path, but just learning for yourself what you can learn, and hopefully a few slides maybe.
Well, and I'll say that probably 30% or more of the 50, 60, 70 people that come to our ashram and meditate, and not always at the same time, there's usually only maybe 5, 10 of us, but overall, I'd say 30 to 40% of them all started on TM. And all of them will tell you the exact same thing. I say, why'd you leave? They said, because I did the same thing again and again and again, and I made some results, and then I just stayed there. I never got any better. It never changed anything. Because again, we're talking about such a arduous challenge to do what is completely contradictory to your nature, which is to think and feel. TM is about not thinking, not feeling. It's about transcending that, but through detachment from it. And so, again, the practice and the knowledge of that. Again, so many of them on the TM, and look, me too. Before this path of bhakti, I am a 3rd degree initiate in ceremonial magic, which I love. I am a master Kabbalist, Kabbalah. I am a Kundalini yoga experiencer, like full blown, absolutely mind blowing, like the real deal thing. Not what everybody talks about. I mean, like I barely had my sanity enduring it. And I also, and I was doing them all pretty good, but as I met a real enlightened Rasic saint, which is the only type that truly teaches the true path of Bhakti Yoga, explain things in such a way where I'm like, oh my God, this is simple and easy. And sure, you start to make the progress. It starts to shift and change. You realize I can do this. And it comes with the grace, the power of all the Rasic saints that come before it. So those puds and those kirtans, they're not just composed by some material human being. The only ones that I participate in are composed by, written by the Rasic saint themselves. Whether that's Chaitanya, the Rupa Goswami, the Goswamis, or my Guru Kripalu. We're getting a direct link. And so I made tremendous progress in my other forms of meditation, as I was sharing with you with the candle flame and these other things, and with my mystical and cosmic things. Tremendous progress. But the results of Anand, true Anand, they're not as dynamic and exciting as cosmic ones. And that's the whole point, is they have sublimity and a peace and a love that is just absolutely undeniably just better. And look, again, you're talking to a guy that loves intensity and powerful. And so Kundalini will blow your friggin' mind. I mean, literally what it does is blow your mind, expand your consciousness on a sensory level. But I walked away from it in a second because I wanted to be one with and to experience the true, living, pure form and love of bliss. And bliss is pure love. I mean, I know it sounds cliche, but it is just pure love. Anyway, let's move on a little bit. I don't know how long it's been. A little bit. So passive act versus active. Brief little summary here. Passive, very difficult, nearly impossible in this modern age. You see this person here? That's me. That's almost what us feel. Inside, like we're going through, but really we're thinking like, again, I'm not doing this right. How's your meditation been? Oh, it was good. We're thinking like, I suck at this. And again, you're not doing it wrong. It's because it's not the right thing at this right time for most people. Now, if you're going to go live in a cave in Nepal, then certainly passive meditation may be just right for you. But even in a cave in Nepal, I'm going to be thinking about Starbucks, and I want some stuff. Active, very easy, effective, and natural because we have active monkey minds. Whee! So the meditation menu. Specials today. Passive, samadhi side costs extra. Active, side of divine love included. So that's on the meditation menu. Now, there are many different techniques. I gave you a summary of both, of what it's like to do a passive meditation. The candle flame, the yantras, the mantras, that it's attaining a state of no mind, of detachment. And the active is the opposite. It's about attaching to something that is peaceful and spiritual. An active meditation, where we're imagining and visualizing and interacting with it. We're not trying to attain a no mind. We're trying to attain a pure mind by associating with and linking with something that is pure. And that's a good way to describe it. I don't know why I didn't say that earlier, right? So let me see if I can say it again. We're not trying to attain no mind, which is completely foreign to us. Even at the thought of we're like, I can't do that. We're trying to align ourselves and to attach to and attain a state of pure mind that is peaceful and clear and loving. So, what do you want to be? I don't know why that's there. This may be from another. What do you want to be?
Your prime.
So this is the little self-promotion to let you know that I'm qualified. I'm a master theologian, mystic, initiate, master alchemist from Alkali. Yes, I'm a master alchemist. I'm a member of International Alchemy Guild, IAG. This is simply because I want people to know that I'm not just some guy that's come up with my own theories. I've studied my whole life. And when I say master theologue, I mean, I just don't take knowledge for granted. I would not dispense information and knowledge to you that I don't know of. I'm right all the time with what I say because I don't talk about things I'm wrong about. There's lots of stuff I could be wrong about, I just don't talk about them. So there's some of my qualifications. And I had a profound Kundalini experience in 1992, near-death experience in 2013, which is kind of an ongoing thing, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a little bit about me, so you know. A 6-time award-winning author, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to wrap this up. Spiritual Triangle, a little promotion there, is where I offer some services. One last thing, never mind my services. Spiritualtriangle.com is where I provide mystical training and counseling, and it will teach you about Kabbalah and Spiritual Triangle and the different modalities that are used to profess and to expand your mind mystically. 5 enlightened. So we're going to be talking about the active meditation. I'm going to close with this as I share with you where it comes from. 5 enlightened Jagat Gurus have graced the earth in the last 5,000 years. That's it. Just 5. The supreme Jagat Guru of this age is a Rasic saint teaching the path of Bhakti Yoga meditation, which is what I'm referring to. The most spiritual. So if the active path is right for you and you want to consider a spiritual one instead of more of a manifestation one, then the Rasic saints are the only ones that truly teach the true path of Bhakti Yoga active meditations. And so I'm going to introduce you to him. The Bhakti Yoga Savatar is his title. This is him when he was younger. And his name is Kripalu, Guru Kripalu Maharaj. You can Google this. He's all over the internet. He was an enlightened master. He left us in 2013. Just going to sum that up and leave you with that thought in his image. So again, I offer you readings, live sessions, mystical gangster training. You can be a mystical gangster with workbooks, etc. Any other questions? Any comments?
No.
Thank you for joining. Thank you, Ryan, for coming and joining me too. You were a great guest. Didn't bring any bagels, but he was very patient. He's got a lot on his mind. So he's always got great things to say. And he's, again, the host of Above the Veil podcast, which is
Soon to debut.
So he's already prepared for some of this. And I was one of his first guests. And it's going to be a phenomenal podcast that I hope to be a guest on many times. I hope to have him back here soon too. Okay? All right. We'll see you another time.
Thank you, guys.
Roddy. Let me turn this off.
I got to thank you.
Thank you.